right, good morning, Nicaragua. My name's Tony, if you don't know me. We've got this Everything Nicaragua thing going here. We've been here about 2 years. I'm here with my family, 3 daughters, a 2-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a just turned 14-year-old. And we love it here. And we have been watching and learning a lot about Nicaragua in the past 2 years. We've done over 100 videos on local businesses here in Nicaragua and kind of learned a lot about how business works here in Nicaragua. It's quite different than in Canada and the United States. We were last living in British Columbia before we moved here. We came on a 30-day vacation, COVID hit, and we haven't left since. Before that, we were living in California and Colorado. We were in the music industry and then the wine industry in Canada, and now in the industry of business in Nicaragua. So after about 1.5 years of watching here, we got to start our first business here in Nicaragua. It's a wine bar called Dubs, and we found 3 challenges in Nicaragua in this little village we're living in Tola called Hacienda Iguana. One was a reliable, high-speed, big bandwidth Wi-Fi area where we could upload big video files and whatnot. So we put together a wine bar with really good Wi-Fi. The wine bar, there was none here, so we thought maybe we could bring in the wine scene. We also partnered up with a great wine distributor, so it all made sense. And then there was a lot of local talent here that was producing products, non-perishable products, so like jewelry, makeup, that sort of stuff. And we thought we could put it together in like a classy consignment store. So that's what Dubs is here. And from doing Dubs, we learned even more about business in Nicaragua. And it looks like the next step for Everything Nicaragua is gonna be something called the Business Barn. Now, the idea started, I'd say about 10 years ago in Canada. I wanted to do these things called tineries. They were tiny wineries. They were built out of containers. Back in the day, 10 years ago, containers were pretty hip and cool. Now they're a little dated, but anyways, the idea and the principles are the same. So it was to put a tiny winery inside a confined, movable structure, such as a container. And then inside the container, it would turn grapes all the way into wine, bottles, and sell them right there at the tinery through the container. So it was like a miniature business, a tinery, a tiny winery. And now, being in Nicaragua, we've seen some of the challenges here in businesses, and we've identified them. There's pretty much 4 or 5 of them, and pretty much every business that fails can check off 1, if not all 5 of these boxes. So we've tried to solve those, and one of them was the building that the business was in. It came down to location. I've done the same thing and I made these mistakes already. So I put a winery on a really busy street, just thinking I was gonna kill it. 10,000 cars a day. They were all the rich people cruising from downtown up to their big houses. And what did they need on their way home? My fancy wine. 0% of that traffic converted into sales because they were too busy. They wanted to get home from their busy office life to their house. So they kept using the liquor stores right next to their office buildings and then driving right past the winery and going home. So I learned a lot about not all traffic is good traffic. Same thing goes online, of course. So location is one of the major problems. And it's not that it's a bad location, it's just the wrong location for that service. Now, if I was a gas station, that might have been a great location. So with the movable structure, it solved it had a couple checks. So one was that it's a really high quality build. So when you buy in Nicaragua, there are some amazing builders here. Don't get me wrong. There's like this dude Carlos builds probably the coolest looking houses and over engineers to the max. They're amazing. But there are a lot of shady builders that just kind of slap it together and it looks good on the outside, but the guts of the thing is like just bad news. So when buying a business, it's hard to really see the guts of a building when it's all mashed up with lipstick and looking so pretty. So with these buildings, they're made inside a factory. They're prefab, and so they're not exposed to any of the elements. While they build it, they use like the best woods. It's from a wood company, it's a furniture company really, but they harvest hardwoods. They do it all green, and you know, they have tree farms and stuff here in Nicaragua, and they use the hardwoods that the bugs can't get in, because Nicaragua is a composting region. Anything here it wants to eat. It gets sun 24/7 all year long. It's humid, it has salt water, you know, from the ocean. There's hurricanes, there's so many wind, there's so many things that want to eat whatever it is that you build here. So these buildings are built inside with the best quality products by furniture manufacturers. So these guys are like finishing guys. They're not like slap it together and framer dude, you know. They're like precisionally built. So the building itself is amazing, but it started from a tiny home that they first designed, and I'll be getting into that in a little bit. But they stripped a tiny home, and we thought, man, we could put a business in here, and it's pretty similar to that tinery model of the winery. So the buildings are built inside. They're completely wrapped with this like aluminum stuff that just nothing can get through. So they're like bulletproof, and they're really cool looking. Like, they're rad, no doubt about it. Like, when I first was into container homes and stuff back in the day, those were rad. And you know, some of the containers that we've been able to build in the past are rad, but they're also kind of like 1980, you know, like an old Ferrari. It's kind of like, that was cool. Like the DeLorean was cool. Maybe it's coming back, I don't know. But anyways, these buildings, they kind of look like barns, and they're phenomenal. One of the coolest parts is that you own that asset, and you can rent, lease, do whatever you want, stick it in a location. And then if that location isn't correct, you know, if you thought you were in the right spot and everything, instead of folding on your business, you can, you know, move it and go to that right location. So not only is it a movable thing, but we built a business park. We call it the, what do we call it? We call it the incubator, creator, something along those lines. But basically, it's an area in a downtown San Juan del Sur, which is the expat capital of Nicaragua. So there's the most expats there, and probably per capita, there's the most disposable income in that area. Most foot traffic for sure, and if you come to Nicaragua, everybody goes to San Juan del Sur. So we have an area right downtown where we're plopping these business barns as kind of a park, an incubator, where when you first invest and get your business barn, get it all set up, you actually get to live in the incubator while you start cash flow, and you learn your customer more than you thought what your customer would be. You'll actually know what your customer is, therefore, hopefully, being able to find the perfect location to go plant your business barn. So, the business barn, the structure, the build, and the movability of it, the way that it can be moved. Transportability is pretty awesome. The next thing that we found with businesses that fail in Nicaragua was a business plan that wasn't amazing. So I got to spend some time on the Central Okanagan Economic Development Commission in British Columbia as the agritourism advisor. Anyways, I got to look at all the business plans, a lot of the business plans of businesses that were moving to British Columbia that wanted to be in agritourism. So wine, anything from wine to like pumpkin patch, food trucks, all that sort of stuff that were based on agritourism. And looking at their business plans, it was pretty quick to see like, well, I've started a lot of businesses. I started my first one when I was 21. My dad actually helped me get an LLC, and we started Tahoe Records, which was a recording studio. And since then, I don't even know how many businesses, but a lot of them. And I looked at the numbers pretty quick and was like, well, this isn't gonna work, you know? So I've been reading, writing, and putting together business plans for about 20 years now. And the biggest the one common denominator that I see in all the businesses are, well, did you have a business plan? Well, we were going to do this, that, and the other, and maybe it was written on a napkin or an Excel spreadsheet or something, but not really a business plan, like all inclusive, everything in there. So what we do is we write the business plan. So you say, hey, I want to do an ice cream food barn, right? We're like, okay, cool. Let's write you up a business plan, and we reverse engineer those numbers. So that's something that I've learned to do, is you come up with what you think you can sell, and then you identify the market, find out how many people are there, you believe that, then you work backwards to your costs, and you find out how much you can spend on staffing, utilities, rent, production costs, actual raw ingredients and all that. So you work backwards according to what your market is, based on the economics, the studies of the wherever you're going to be in that market segment. So our business plans are pretty freaking rad. Then the next thing that we found that people fail in business here is because they rely on people to run it. So it's like, I found John, he's awesome. John, run my business. And John runs that business into the ground. He does it as best as he can, but it still goes into the ground. And the reason is that people are relying on people instead of systems. So I got a long story. I'm not going to tell it to you right now, but it has to do with like an amazing event in my life with wine and delegation versus abdication. So I once told somebody to do something, and I didn't tell him exactly how, when, where, what, the actual system for doing it. And wow, it went differently than I anticipated. Luckily for me, it was one of the best things in my life. So with the second or third thing, you've got your location and your building, then you've got a business plan, and then now we're on to a operational manual. Most people didn't have one of these. And what an operational manual is like a system and process for every single thing on the checklist of what needs to be done in order to sell the product that you're selling. So things as simple as opening the shop, what you do during the day in the shop, when you do them, what you do at closing of the day and when you do it. And we've developed a really cool system that includes like onboarding, quizzes. It's all online. It's really cool. It uses QR codes where there's a checklist, and then there's a system written for each one of those checklists, and then you scan a QR and it shows you a video of exactly how to do each one of those checklists to get to clarity, so people are really clear on what it is that they're doing. So anyways, our system and process development manual that we make for each one of these barns is phenomenal. That to me blows my mind. So you got your barn, your business plan, you got your system and process manual. Then let's see, what's the next thing that we discovered was, well, financing. So cash money, baby. That was something that people would complain on first. To me, that's the last thing. That's the last reason businesses fail. I'm a big fan of, it's not resources that make us fail. It's lack of resourcefulness. That's the reason we fail. So running out of money is kind of like running out of resources. It's like, get resourceful, dude. You got to make it work. But it's hard when you don't have a plan, when you don't have a system, when you're in the wrong location. That's a tough thing to do. So our business barns, what we're trying to do is eliminate all of the things that we've learned in business over the past 20 and even more years. With all the people involved in this on me, we have a lot of years with a lot of business experience. And we found a way to make these things for any business you want. And we're gonna have a bunch of them set up in San Juan del Sur, so you'll be able to check them out. But if you're looking to do business in Nicaragua, this is definitely something to check out as soon as possible. So hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have something up there in San Juan del Sur for you to check out. And that seems to be the direction of where everything Nicaragua is going today. I hope everybody's had as good of a day as I have so far, walking and talking. I'm walking through a river right now on the beach in Tola, Nicaragua. As we say every day on Everything Nicaragua, adios, nos vemos.